What? Huh?
I'm Isyander.
And I'm Coda.
And today we're going to be covering the Celestial Lions, the poster boys for why you do not mess with the Inquisition.
Oh.
This is going to be a fun one.
Okay.
To update those of you not on the Patreon, you should be, I have done nothing but feed Coda exactly what the average Imperial Rube would have heard of when it comes to the Celestial Lions. I have done nothing but lie to you for the last hour.
Telling misinformation on the internet.
I know, who would.
Who would do that?
Right? And now we get to cover the reality of what the Celestial Lions are, which is a lesson.
I guess I should update the Patreon post's description then.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you got mad at them.
It's pretty aggressively anti them.
Well, the first script showed up from the Inquisition. This one's coming from me.
They would lie to me.
Yeah, well,
Well, technically, it still came from you, but...
Listen, moral of the story here is, when you play with the Inquisition, you have to do things their way every time without fail, and if you don't, you will wind up the way these guys did.
Okay.
Maybe, possibly. We're not sure. I'll spoil how the story ends. We're actually not sure what they're up to at the end of the story. It's real rough.
The Inquisition or the Lions?
The Lions. Though we're never sure what the Inquisition's up to anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of their whole deal, isn't it?
Exactly. But before we get into that, it's poll time. The options this time are the Schola Progenia, the Titans, the Servitors, and lastly, somehow, we haven't done an episode on this yet, the Warp. I have no idea how it made it this far, honestly. So those are your four
We've
options.
done Chaos, but not the Warp.
Yeah, which is the different, but kind of, it's like all rectangles are squares, but not all squares are rectangles kind of a situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yep, you know the drill. Sound off in the comment. Top 3 gets made. Last one, we'll go fight it out with the Tau and the Crimson Fists in the losers bracket whenever
Isn't it all
that
squares
comes
are
around.
rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares?
Did I say it backwards?
I think you said it backwards.
No, I thought I said all rectangles are squares, but not all squares are rectangles.
No, it's the opposite. All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares.
I think you're wrong.
No, because squares implies that it's equilateral sides.
Oh, no, you're right. It's all squares are rectangles.
Yeah. Because a rectangle is just...
I did get that backwards.
A rectangle is just a four-sided shape with equal 90-degree angles on each of their sides, right?
Yep. Basic geometry.
But a square is all of those sides are of equal length.
Mm-hmm. Basic geometry with Isyander and Coda. We also have a Patreon, which is how we fund our Tau videos.
We do have a Tau video up there.
I'm kidding. We have a couple.
We have 2.
No, we have 4.
4?
Yes.
No, we
The
don't.
Tau got a companion episode. Farsight got a companion episode.
Oh. Well, that's not all on the Patreon. That's 2 on the Patreon.
No, but that moral of the story is, it's how we get to make Tau videos. And I'm only partially getting there. But the reality of it is, the machine god is well and truly unknowable. It is beyond all of us. Those funny colored 5 letters, Google. 6. No, Google. Yeah, 6.
6.
I can count.
You can count.
Yeah.
I think they
Those
use
funny
4
colored-
for most of their iconography, though.
What matters is those multicolors that say don't be evil. Yeah, we can't understand them to save our lives. However, we can continue to go even. I'm not going to say we're besting it. We're going even. I know my station, and continue to make hyper niche but entertaining videos. Who knows? Maybe we'll throw in like an Alaskan ziggurat if we get big enough at some point. We'll see how far this bit goes.
I'm both curious to see, but also terrified to see if that bit continues on.
I'm just saying,
to its
enable me
completion.
the way Mr. Beast is enabled, and I promise you're getting drone footage from an Alaskan ziggurat. I borderline swear it.
There was
I borderline swear it.
There's a YouTube comment that was talking about the engineering feasibility of that project.
Was there?
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
Now I'll have to go hunting for that.
You don't need to. I noted it down.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Okay,
I did.
you'll have to tell me about it later.
I'll have to tell you about it later.
Yeah, we don't just ask without giving, though. If you join, you get access to bonus episodes, twice as many every single week, like the one I just spent gaslighting Coda in. Priority voting by basically being a swing state, because Patreon votes weigh real heavy. You get the honor and privilege of being our Wisconsin. And I can't think of a higher. I could have gone with Ohio. Don't sigh. I could have gone with Ohio.
All I'll say is this joke is kind of cheesy. That is Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, that is Wisconsin. They're cheeseheads. Yeah. Access to the monthly live streams where everyone discovered I'm pretty rusty at Doom, man. It's not great. And access to the Discord where there's just a bunch of awesome people in there. I've seen many, many people become friends there, and also it's a place where we will occasionally operate in. For example, Coda got a brand new counter to mill in there because
which, thank God,
kind of awful at magic, and
one person is watching this video, and they know it's coming for them.
Yeah, it should be funny. So if you want to tap into all of that, head on over to patreon.com/Isyander and Coda to help us keep all these lights on, and maybe we'll get to the Ziggurat app. Maybe, no promises, but we'll see.
Maybe. You know, I've seen bigger mega projects on YouTube.
Right. For those of you already there, thank you very much. For those of you doing it as I speak, thank you as well. Now let us get into one of the fastest ways you could die in 40K.
Unlearning the gaslighting that I'd just been given.
Yes, and we have to go through this fairly quickly before they catch on to what's going on here.
Who's they?
The people who were able to redact the whole episode.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If you cross the Inquisition, you will find an incredibly powerful enemy. That's a guarantee. The problem is they're also very petty. Because it's not just you have upset someone with great power, you have upset someone with a borderline divine mandate.
And they're also still human.
Yes.
That's going to go to their heads.
So if you cross them, they will teach you a lesson and drive it home until everyone else got it. It's very often, it's not what you did. It is, I will make sure no one ever even thinks to try this. That is exactly what they go for, and that's the situation the Celestial Lions find themselves in after some... It's a little... I'll be honest, a plot point planet. It's not going to be relevant after this, and we'll get to it far later. For now, let's get to the basics. It's time for some fundamentals, baby. Starting with the founding they came from, the 23rd, it was known as the Sentinel, which is... It's a fitting name. The whole goal here was, God, we need some stable space marines.
Yeah, because wasn't the last one the cursed founding?
No, it's 21.
Okay, so yes. The one before the last one.
Yes. The recent history, what was going on at this time was that cursed founding, like you said.
Or we got the coolest legions or chapters.
A little after that, or a little around that kind of, you get something known as the Age of Apostasy, which we have covered in great detail. What you need to know for this episode is it ends in something known as the Reign of Blood. So that tells you how well
pretty much
going.
Everything you need to know about the span of history.
And then 2 to 3 Black Crusades, all in that same time period. You see why the whole Imperium was just... Please
give us something,
just come
some stability, please.
2 arms, 2 legs, and not insane. That's all I need out of you. 2 arms, 2 legs, not insane, or just sad like those yellow ones over there.
And for the time, that was a tall ask.
That's why they went for Ultramarine Gene Seed, Imperial Fist Gene Seed, and Dark Angels, allegedly.
They're a hybrid?
No, this is just like when they're making a founding, you know, it's like this is what we're gonna use to make this, you know. And so
they were taking from those legions.
Exactly.
I see.
Exactly.
I see.
The Celestial Lions were created as a part of like a boy band. There's this very, very, very cool sector of space called Alara's Veil, which sounds very, very cool. And
it's a very cool name.
The Celestial Lions,
very high sci-fi.
Right. The Celestial Lions, the Emperor Spears, and the Star Scorpions kind of formed this one big boy band called the Sentinels of the Veil. And their job was just to guard that place.
The name kind of implies that.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know in their spare time they're going, baby, bye, 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 bye.
Are they?
And what else are they going to be doing? It's kind of, there's not much. I'll be honest, there's not much happening in Alara's Veil.
Is this just a backwood?
It's not the... Space is big.
Space
And
is big.
Chaos can't be looking everywhere at the same time.
As much as they will try.
You know, and so some sectors of space, while important, aren't as active as, say, Cadia. Where every 5 seconds, something there's just a new Cornate demon. It's just there.
Just because why not?
Running around, setting new PRs at the gym before running away.
That's what they do.
You know? So it's a kind of thing where it wasn't constantly under assault, per se, but you definitely wanted about 3 chapters there to keep it safe, you know? It would take that much should something terrible happen to it.
It was an important location, but, like, not constantly being looked at.
Right? They also have their home planet of Elysium. It's such a cool name, right? I like Elysium.
It's very, I'm not going to say it's uninspired, but...
Okay.
You can flip it, or you can throw a rock in any sci-fi universe and hit an Elysium somewhere.
The reason I like this Elysium, what do you think it looks like?
Well, judging that it's 40K, it's probably playing on some form of irony, so it doesn't look like the paradise world it should be. I'd imagine this is like awful, horrible, maybe a little bit volcanic.
Nope, Serengeti.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of pretty much just planet Serengeti.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's at this point I also have to mention a lot of chapters in 40K kind of not rip, but they're inspired by different cultures. Like, I mean, you look at the Ultramarines, there's Roman stuff.
They wear it on their sleeve almost.
Everywhere, you know. The space sharks are now very Polynesian themed, right?
Which is very cool.
These guys are more like African culture. Not any one region in specific, just like net.
Kind of
Throw a dartboard at a continent.
Amalgam Africa.
Yeah, pretty much, which is like a little bit of a bummer, but it doesn't
get us Celestial Lions with Kente claws right now.
That's an image that somehow hasn't been made yet. It's kind of like, don't put them up to this. I've already seen one version of Gilliman at the bureaucrat desk with Hermes Conrad's head on him. So that is probably going to be the thumbnail for the Gilman video. I'm just going to tell you that right now for free. Because I quite like that piece of art. The main thing about it is it's like the space sharks aren't just like a island in specific they rip from. It's just net Polynesian culture.
Yeah.
And so these guys kind of do the same thing. They have very, very African sounding names. Their ranks are all renamed as well. So you now have like War Leader, Death Speaker, Spirit Walker, Life Binder, Pride Leader. Like it's all there. Like this is
very cool names.
Right? And it's
very
such a
cool
cool
names.
gimmick. I wanted expanded on more. We're never going to get that.
Probably not.
We're never going to get that.
Well, judging from the... I get that the last episode was very... propagandized, we'll say.
No, it's an accurate telling of events, citizen. Move on.
But it does... I'd imagine the story ends with them in a pretty sorry state either way.
We'll see. For now, they have about 4,000 years of exemplary service that pretty much just happens off screen. And it's just like passively mentioned. Later on in life, they deal with a full enslaver plague. You know, the things that ended the war in heaven.
That wasn't a notable thing to talk about?
It's a footnote.
that there's not a whole book on this, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe a chapter?
Nope.
It's a footnote.
Footnote. Yep. If you want to know more about the enslavers, they're terrifying. Watch the Necron episode. It's good. Yeah. No, they're a lot.
A footnote.
A footnote, because none of this will matter the moment they set foot on a planet known as Khattar, because Khattar is this planet that is deep in the thrall of the ecclesiarchy. It's priests, it's holy people, it's temples, it's shrines. It's the kind of planet that makes the big state-sponsored church very happy. It's everything they want out of a planet.
This is just a church planet.
Exactly.
They take
a bastion of faith, really.
What's the one guy's name who owns a big mega church?
Joel Osteen.
Take Joel Osteen and give him a planet.
You could really throw a dart. There's quite a few of these guys.
Are there?
Creflo Dollar.
I don't know that one.
That's my favorite one.
I don't know that one.
Because Creflo dollar.
That's a name right there.
Can you imagine tithing to Creflo dollar?
You have no question about where your dollars are going, though.
I've not done any research into him other than learning that's his real name. And just, wow.
It can't be his real name.
Hold on.
His last name needs to have been changed at some point during his name or his life.
Creflo Augustus Dollar Jr.
Yeah, that can't be real. That's a stage name.
Brother.
That's a stage name.
Okay, sure. Why not? Somebody can dig into this.
I'd love to see this man's birth certificate. That cannot be his real name.
It's a kind of thing. There's a whole theory about this where it's like it's almost like a predetermined. You'll become
what your name suggests.
You know,
I keep seeing
like Lawson always going into law, the Smiths going into smithing.
I keep seeing like every so often like Google articles that are like, oh hey, here's yet another piece of evidence that people become what their names are.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole like sub. I don't fully buy
it either.
I don't fully buy into it, but then I see Creflo dollar.
Again, that can't be a real name.
He was fated for this.
That must be a stage name.
This was his canon ending. Good for him.
That must be a stage name.
If that is on his birth certificate,
I'd like to see it.
It's a little bit. He was strings of fate. He was led that direction.
I'd like to see his.
It's stuff like that makes me go, Just maybe there's something to this.
Listen.
I don't fully buy it, but maybe there's.
You
something
can trust me not to commit fraud with your birth certificate. I don't want to. Show me your birth certificate. I need to see if that's your real, genuine legal name.
I promise you now, the world is small. Nobody in the Dollar family is watching this. Nobody in the Dollar family is watching.
But they could be.
Possibly. I don't know. What matters is it's that tier of planet, and if you have the skill set to be a fervent zealot for a guy clad in gold, it's pretty much the same skill set needed for a guy clad in red, a guy clad in green, a guy clad in blue, a guy clad in purple. It doesn't matter really. You know, you can very easily just twist it and it works very, very effectively, which is exactly what Chaos does. Turning all of that evangelism towards spewing chaos everywhere.
Depending on the one of the four, spewing vomit, spewing gore, spewing mystery. What's the one Airheads flavor? White mystery, and then also spewing white mystery. Two of those are spewing white mystery. One is mysterious, and one leans more into that first word.
They're preaching absurdities like the Emperor is not a god and chaos is a power beyond comprehension. The stuff that just clearly is not true in any way, shape, or form, you know? The lies are so effective that they get not just the average Joes or the higher-ups like normal, but everybody.
The entire planet.
Planetary Defense Force, nearby guardsmen, everything. Like they did have this skill set. It has now been changed, like I said. They're gonna be good at this.
The skills did not change. It was just...
It's like if any one of those mega churches we mentioned swapped over to the Church of the Giant Spaghetti Monster. Suddenly...
There's a lot of... What do they call themselves?
Way more Pastafarians.
That's what they call themselves.
Way more Pastafarians. Who have been, quote, touched by his noodly appendage. That is really on their website. I could not make this up. Same. Their heaven has a beer volcano.
Okay, that's kind of sick.
So
that's kind of sick.
Yeah.
You've got me. You've convinced me. Maybe I'll look into the church.
Next episode, he's gonna show up with a strainer. That's how they got him. This is pretty much what happened on this planet. Everybody just hook, line, and sinker. Now, typically there's a chain of command kind of a thing. The people revolt. Well, that's what the Planetary Defense Force is for. The Planetary Defense Force revolts. Well, that's what the Guardsmen are for. And if the Guardsmen revolt.
What do you got for that? Not a lot?
Yeah.
Not a lot.
It's genuinely a really big problem. And it's not just, a couple of guardsmen have moved over. This is fine. I'm talking like...
The whole thing?
I can't undersell what happens when chaos is at a fever pitch. Like, people are standing in the pews, people are fainting, the pastor's sweating, giving a 10-hour sermon, people are being delivered, like the whole nine is happening. Like, people in wheelchairs are getting up to fist fight if it's corn. It's wild what happens when chaos fully gets a grip on a planet.
What are they doing if Tzeentch?
Checkers, I don't know. I truly can't. If what matters is when chaos is full steam ahead, if you weren't chaotic before, you bear witness to that.
You're chaotic now.
I guess I am, and that's a huge problem. Firmly in what qualifies as deploy Space Marines immediately right now. Please, please, please. Oh, God. And when this happens, somebody phones up the Celestial Lions, because A, they're the closest ones, B, this really has to stop.
I mean, yeah. You would get the closest ones,
right?
If it really needs to stop. Get here quickly. Whoever can be here the soonest.
An Inquisitor also shows up named Apollyon, and he immediately naval blockades the planet.
Cool name. Such a cool
Isn't
name.
it such a cool name? The Lions come from Dorn's blueprint, so they're very reliable. You know? It is a Honda Civic made flesh. Engine oil optional. Like, I can't oversell how dependable Dorn's kin are. Like, you need something done every single time.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. Will it happen fast?
Yeah.
Nah, really. Will it happen in the most efficient way possible? Depends on the job. But will it happen? Yes. Yeah. And so that is what they do when dealing with this massive chaos uprising. And they deal with it pretty easily. Like, it's pretty laughable when you read the way it's described, because they just kind of sidestep the planetary defenses, and once they get onto the planet, which is fully aboard Team Slaanesh at this point, so basically they get on the planet and they just hear
things
SNM
are getting
blasting.
freaky.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the worst bits of 50 Shades are being read out loud by Gilbert Gottfried on every single station.
Oh my.
Yeah, no, it's Slaanesh worlds are wild. It is now no shirt, no shoes, good service. Like, that's where we're at for this planet. It's real messy. It's very, very messy, but it's thankfully mostly just a human mess.
It's a new sign for the backdrop right there.
Oh, that's not going in the backdrop. I'll tell you that for free right now.
No shirt, no shoes, good service.
I will tell you that
good
right.
servicing.
It's just regular people on this planet, thankfully. There's no demons yet. Well, there's a couple, but nothing like major. There's no big named demons.
They can have a few demons as a trait.
Exactly. And so when Space Marines encounter this, it's
light work.
It's so easy.
Light work.
Not only do the Lions make a point of sidestepping the Planetary Defense Force, but they will just sidestep everyone who is not taking up arms against them while they're just beelining it for the geezers up top. And as it turns out, you crush the people in charge of the radio stations and all that.
And the people start not really agreeing with the ideas anymore. They go, God, what did I do with that cucumber?
Pretty much. The morale is pretty shattered after months. Like, it's so fast for them. And there's really minimal civilian casualties at this point, because, again, they're just sidestepping everything they do not need to. They're very much so taking the approach of... Or it's not them. Space Marines generally tend to take the approach of not maximal effort, but maximal leverage.
What can I do to make the most effect on what I'm doing currently?
Yeah. So, like, while a Space Marine could hit you exceptionally hard any day of the week,
it's a lot easier to shoot you with a tank round.
Well, no, it's more like if I can find like a lever long enough and just nudge it with my pinky, and that hits you exceptionally hard.
It's so efficient.
That's so and. This could be just a side effect of most books being Ultramarine books, and this is their MO, but that's typically how Space Marines will go about it, with a few exceptions here and there.
I mean, I'd imagine Kurz and his Legion aren't exactly the most efficient, but
well, yeah.
They are having the most fun.
Well, even for Kurz, he has to be fairly efficient, because every 5 minutes extra he spends, because his potato peelers are hair too rusty, are cities that are just not being peeled by him. And that's so much wasted potential. They could be screaming right now. So even he has to be fairly like, how can I maximize suffering while minimizing my time here?
Listen, let's get these suffering conveyor belts going a little bit faster, please. Can we upgrade to the Mark III conveyors, please? We need more suffering supplied to these machines. Thank you.
Yeah, and so they knock this out very quickly, and the Lions pack up and leave because, okay, everyone in charge is gone. None of you are really about this chaos life now that it's no longer cool.
We're kind of done here.
Yeah, we'll leave this for the Guard and the Navy to sort out. And as they're flying away, they notice a rather big gun turning on.
Oh.
And turning everything green. As it's aiming right for that planet.
What do you mean turning everything green?
Well, I just mean like it's a rather large gun being aimed at that planet.
Okay.
Like a very large planet.
This isn't the Necrons showing up for the 20th time?
No, it's just a BFG being fired at the planet.
Okay.
And so they immediately just stomp on the brakes, stand on them, and they try and clearly wrong order is happening.
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. There's no need to destroy the planet. We got the leadership. There's no more chaos. This all falls on deaf ears as the planet is glassed anyway, rendering all the warfare, all that care they went through, all the effort it took to not kill civilians, useless. As the Inquisitor in charge, Apollyon, chose to rely on the good old saying, innocence proves nothing.
Listen, there was chaos on that planet once, which means there is chaos on that planet all the time.
And so Apollyon destroys it just to be sure. And this horrifies the Celestial Lions. They vow to hold this madman accountable for the tragedy and will tell anyone who can hear about what happened there. Like, they promise not just to, like, put the speakers on as they're going around town saying you're a war criminal. They threaten to run to dad.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
This is what sets their downfall.
Possibly. And
this is like seeing somebody in the mob shoot someone in an alley and like going, oh, I'm going to go through every news organization and whistleblow.
Precisely. And so everywhere they go, they're telling people about this, and they send a ship back to Earth to give news to the High Lords of Terra that the Inquisition's gone mad.
Ooh.
Weirdly enough, this ship would never make it to Earth. It was blown wildly off course and was found deep in Orc territory. No survivors, just wreckage.
I can already see where this is going.
Just coincidences is all.
Uh-oh.
And they would continue to do this up until their next gig, which is Armageddon. Because of course they were on Armageddon. Everyone was on Armageddon. Cue the list. I did a list. There's a long list.
It's an episode. It's a whole list of every single person that was there.
Here it is now. Every belligerent in Armageddon.
The Orcs, Armageddon's nobility, the 13th Penal Legion, Slaaneash's Legions of Excess, the Sisters of Battle, the Collegia Titanica, the Relictors, the Plague Legions of Nurgle.
You get the point. Everyone was Armageddon. We've already done an episode on this. It's massive.
It's a lot.
And we're just going to be looking at this one place where the Celestial Lions are, because that's kind of what matters for this episode. So when the call for aid is sent out, because there's a whole thing happening on Armageddon, the Celestial Lions, as well as everyone with a pulse, answers the call. And they show up as a full-force chapter to this planet. And it's on Armageddon where things start to get
wacky.
Odd. You know, it's just... They spited the Inquisition. Things stopped working out for them. From the moment they touched down, things just aren't adding up.
Just in general, like someone discovered that their favorite coffee mug was just mysteriously gone, and
it's more like all their intelligence is misleading or out of date.
Oh, amazing.
Constantly being ambushed by enemies. Like they always know where they are. Orders that are just straight up bogus. Several times they would be sent to reinforce members of the Guard that were dead. And now they're just deep in enemy territory. Or sent to, hey, this is a very critical objective. Go there, and there's no support.
I see. I see.
Yep. And every single scan they'd send from orbit was completely inaccurate, with enemies always being there and far larger numbers than they were ever told.
Oh, wait, listen, we expected 2 guys. Why is there an entire horde of them here?
And they could not stop to call the ref on any of this, because they are Sons of Dorn and there's a hive city behind them.
Listen, the job just needs to get done.
Yep. And so within not that much time at all, they lose their entire fleet, sometimes with them being shot down by other friendly ships because targeting malfunctions, leading to whole ships full of Space Marines flak cannoned out of the sky by Imperial weaponry.
That wasn't an accident.
They'd be sent to supply depots, and oh no, it's empty. How did that happen? There was every minute they spend on Armageddon is a minute spent being bled dry.
Has anybody seen Office Space?
No.
Oh, well, you're lame. They get treated like Melvin.
They're getting, you know what? I don't even need to know it. They're getting Melvin.
They're getting Melvin.
Within
I think that's his name, if I remember correctly.
Within a few months, they are halved in strength.
Well, that'd do it.
And that is before we get to the most important battle for them on Armageddon, the Mannheim Gap.
Aha, my favorite event from the last episode.
Yes.
I assume a lot of that knowledge is about to be recontextualized.
A little bit, maybe, possibly. The reason the gap matters enough to even be named is because the Celestial Lions discovered within the orcs were constructing Gargants. These things.
The big...
I love those goofy things.
Big tank mechs.
Yeah, they're not goofy at all when you're dealing with them in canon.
You know, everything from an outside perspective about the orcs is really goofy, but then you actually, like... would you want to be in the 40k universe facing down an orc? No, it'd be awful.
Yeah, it would not be pleasant at all. Again, the one scene of the guy from Krieg being held up and just juiced.
Squished.
Just squished.
Squeesh.
Yeah, that does a lot to show how sinister the orcs can be. The Lions are given orders that it has to be assaulted because the goobers in the guard couldn't handle this at all. And the hive is currently fully occupied defending itself. So the Lions have to do this all by themselves, is what the orders say. And these are Sons of Dorn.
Those are very specific orders.
Given to Sons of Dorn, who never back off or ask for help. Which is why they go in there to strike those machines down while they're still under construction, because if those things are ever finished, everyone is screwed.
Yeah.
And so the last 500 Celestial Lions walk in there, which... that's a big number.
The last 500.
No. Chapters have taken planets with over 100, and theoretically, like one single well-placed Marine could take over a planet. Like, it would be a very, let me be clear, very boring book. It would be Brother Rippus and Terrace descended down from the heavens into the governor's home. He proceeded to rip and tear. It was done by 4 p.m. and he was home in time for dinner.
Or if this is a more tactical operation and we put brother someone of the Raven Guard in a very specific place where he would take out the one head honcho guy who is the linchpin of every single operation on this planet.
If it's a Raven Guard, they could just pick everyone off slowly over the course of months. That's what they're best at. So Space Marines are a lot.
They can deal with
rarely
the problems.
need more than 100 to deal with a problem. This is 500 being sent somewhere.
Quite a lot. Small number, relatively, but quite a lot of them.
And to make their assault even harder on the stronghold, it's somehow properly shielded. So none of the usual Space Marine antics of superhero landing, pain train forward for 15 minutes.
It's
because it's a really effective tactic, man.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Space Marine 2 trailer. It seems to be very effective.
Yeah, it's such a good one. But they couldn't do that this time. Instead,
I love that moment. I love that moment from the Space Marine 2 trailer. I think it shows up in every other video.
It's good. Because it's very good. A drop pod and then just moving forward at Tyranids, I can't ask for more.
And just like stomping them without even breaking a sweat.
Do you see why one Marine would do quite a bit of damage?
Yes.
Yep. And so now they have to make a long, grueling assault marching forward at orcs.
They need to ruck at orcs?
Yes. Current game plan is rush in there, punch them really hard, destroying every single Gargant, run away. Because they don't need to kill everyone there, they just need to get the machines and get out. Which, solid plan.
That's a very Dornian plan.
Yeah. It is. And
very, very Dornian.
the moment
plan.
one foot is in this gap, every single Gargant turns on.
I thought they were unfinished.
Nope, they were faking being under construction, and the funniest thing is they all aim at where they're coming from. Like they know.
Like they know, you say.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly where they're going to enter the shield?
Mm-hmm. At this point, I'll be honest, they should run.
That they should.
And they can't.
Why?
Because their escape is filled with orcs suddenly. From hidden ambush points. Again, like they were expecting them. It's almost like the orcs were told that they were coming and they would be doing this. Mm-hmm.
Big
Right? It's rough. They're hosed. There's no two ways about it.
You're suddenly surrounded by orcs, and they have the big tank mechs aimed directly at your skull.
The tank mech that has a few pieces of art, but the one we have is it fighting a titan.
Yeah. You will listen. You're a space marine. You're a lot. You're not a titan.
They are still the Emperor's finest weapons, clad in his greatest... You know the whole routine at this point. They have, like, one job, and they're really good at it. So despite the comically terrible odds, they hold out.
Yeah.
And
they at least have a chance.
They're not winning, but they're doing better than almost anyone else would. And they manage to... For a few moments there, it seems like they can eke a way out of this bind. And then... While they're boxed in by orcs and being assaulted by gargants, the war boss shows his face.
It's over. It's done. That's
and
it.
Begins to rip through them.
Nope, it's done. It's over. That's it.
Shortly after that...
Episode done. Credits roll. Goodbye.
We ain't done yet. Shortly after that, pinpoint accurate laser fire begins to rain down on them.
Yes, the orc snipers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I
don't know how you missed that in the original episode, by the way.
Question.
Orc snipers using laser weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just dealing with Chris Calvert Green. That's all.
Just.
That's all. Yep, and
are we sure they're green? Like for real, or are they just wearing green face?
That is the official explanation.
Are we sure?
It could be an orc minstrel show. I'm not sure.
Are we sure?
Official response. Whatever matters. What matters for today is whatever it was that was there killed every single captain, chaplain, apothecary, and librarians. Everyone that matters, using stuff that leaves behind almost standard issue imperial-sized holes.
Are we sure that these were orcs? Because that does not seem right.
It's all right. It's orc snipers. Don't worry about it. What matters is 500 go in, 96 come out. And only 3 officers survive. One captain, 1 chaplain, and 1 apothecary. Mm-hmm. And they frantically scramble to leave as they find even their base is being attacked. Like their base camp. Yeah. They have to hightail it all the way back.
This is just the worst.
Yeah, there's like one silver lining, and that is some of them made it back. And one of the apothecaries, which is effectively a space marine medic, they're the guys who fix you up, and they're the ones, most importantly, that recover the goo that every space marine drops when they die as loot. It's super important stuff and very, very key to printing out more marines. Like, you kind of take this, you stuff it in the Marine Maker 9000, and bah!
Look, a marine.
Yes. Unfortunately, after debriefing this horrible incident, it seems they were followed by another orc sniper.
Oh, amazing.
And the last apothecary was found
orc sniper
slumped against his transport with a hole burned clean through his eyes. Oh, and the only gin seed he managed to recover was now missing. 90.4% of their chapter is gone with no way to retrieve it.
This is not just orcs.
This isn't even a year after they screwed about.
This is not just orcs doing this to them, is it?
What? I can neither confirm nor deny this. I just know whatever caused this unfortunate series of events leaves them absolutely broken. It's clear something is working against them, and I would never name it out of enjoyment of my own life, but
They can't touch us here. They're stuck in their books.
the Celestial Lions just know that most of their brothers are now in an orc field, literally being trod upon and looted for no reason other than a petty vendetta. That's it. Even their pleas for help, fun fact, are interrupted.
Oh god, that's so...
Yeah, one of the ships they send out is sandblasted in a storm before it can get to the correct location.
This is so mess.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, somehow, this ship is found by a member of the Black Templars, who are technically either brothers, half-brothers. They are definitely not cousins, because they share the same dad. Well, it's... Space Marine lineage is very difficult.
It's
because
bizarre.
before they become Marines, they do have biological parents.
But
after the fact, there's now a third party involved.
they have different genetics in them as well.
I'm telling you, it's half or step brothers. That's half to
one of
full
those.
proper brothers. That's what matters.
Quarter brothers?
They're all related to Dorn.
Quarter brothers?
Sure, why not?
Let's agree on quarter brothers.
They're all. We need to do an episode on like the actual logistics of a space.
The
Marine.
genetic weird.
Yes, they're all related to Dorn, and that's what matters. And they believe them when they say that they're being betrayed by something. You know,
Because this is too...
Mm-hmm.
This is all too convenient for this to just be orcs.
Yes, and so This
is too precise.
They show up to hear them out, and it's less of a plea for help and more just, please perform my last rites so I can go out there and die with my brothers. It's over. They won. I'm sorry I tried. Somebody needs to see what they did to us.
Just to write it down.
Yes.
Don't scream it because we don't want them to do this to you, but
We haven't done a Black Templars episode yet. They could scream it if they wanted
could
to.
they?
Oh, they're one of those chapters that's just like... Okay, so...
Oh yeah, I'd imagine like the Ultramarines could probably scream something about the Inquisition because good luck sieging Ultramar, good luck sieging Macragge. But
Quick little sidebar about how Space Marines are organized. Theoretically, they were split up into chapters, so no one person has the power of a legion ever again. Chapters are about 1,000 Space Marines, give or take, and they're supposed to stick to that. They're supposed to. Now, the Ultramarines do technically have all like thousands of different chapters, you know, with 1,000 people exactly, right? But they all occupy the same area of space, and they all answer to Dad, and they all come from the realm of Ultramar, but they're not a legion. Okay?
it doesn't matter that they're all pledging allegiance to the flag of the United States of Macragge.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if Gilliman said jump, no Ultramarine chapter
Nothing
would say
for
no.
the alliteration?
No,
Nothing for the rhyme?
You get nothing. You get nothing.
Nothing?
No. And any Ultramarine successor chapter, if Gilliman said jump, they're all saying how high.
Absolutely.
They're all... Actually, no, they already know. They read the book. There's a standard issue jump height. And so that's one way people get... That's one way people... You know I'm right. That's one way people get around the whole chapter rule. Now, there's others that get around it by just saying, count the Marines, I dare you. And the Black Templars fall into that category.
I see.
You're a chapter. I've seen 6 fully staffed ships.
How do you have that happen? What are you doing?
Okay.
And then it's just the Black Templars screaming from across space, like, try me.
No, it's literally count them.
Come over here and count them.
Count them. Go ahead. I dare you. Do it. And
I'll count them with you.
I'll count them with you. And so they are very, very, very powerful. Like, there are rumors they range anywhere from a little over chapter size to maybe a legion. We don't actually know how big they are, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. They're powerful. They could do a lot, and they believe they're some of the most zealot. They're like the zealot branch of Space Marines, if that makes sense.
I mean, they're Templars.
Yes,
it's kind of in the name.
Yeah. So if anyone could shout it, they're some of the few that could. However, we're not even going to get to that point because a whole chapter martyring themselves is just not acceptable. No, I'm not letting you jump in front of a freight train. That will not.
Listen, every Space Marine is essential to this cause.
Yeah, exactly.
Better not to waste your lives.
Mm-hmm. And even the Space Marine they ask to bear witness and do all this, a fellow named Merrick Grimaldus, who my dyslexia always wants to read as Grimdalis. I know it's not, but it's what happens every single time. He is an episode all to himself. There's quite a few Black Templars that are, like I said, they break the rules often, and he's the most...
We already have one Black Templar video on the Patreon, don't we?
There could be more. There could always be more. And he's the most clearly related to Dorn man I've ever seen.
He's Dorn Jr.?
You know, like in Maury, when I'm not the dad, and the kid comes out and he looks just like
the
him.
dad, yeah.
That's
Dorn.
That's Grimaldus.
That's Dorn.
Look at that.
That's Dorn.
He had that same haircut from the moment he was born.
It's
not a standard issue thing. It just grows that high. That's just how he's been. No DNA test needed. I know he's related to the Big Brick.
Yep.
I know it. He will not sign off on this plan, instead offering them redemption at that gap. And this is a very key and important thing here. To everyone who will listen, the Celestial Lions sound crazy. It is an absurd theory to state that the Inquisition has set them up as payback for them implying that they're power-mad lunatics a little bit ago.
This is like saying I wrote a mean comment about the CIA on Twitter, like...
Why do you want
5 years ago?
Why do you want men in suits to arrive? I live a peaceful life. I have no ops. Why must you? I do not want the Excellence in Journalism Award. I live a good life.
Preamble. This is a bit.
I live a good life. I will have a suit at some point. Maybe I'll be near them. Why?
Preamble. This is a bit. This is a bit about I'm crazy. This is like saying I wrote a mean comment about the CIA on Twitter 10 years ago and suddenly I'm fired from my job and this is now the CIA's fault somehow.
I have no control over what leaves his mouth. I seek no awards from the CIA.
Please don't give me the Excellence in Journalism Award.
Jesus.
If anything is going to get men in suits at our doors, it's going to be...
I don't know if anyone can ever confirm this, but I do know people have watched this from very, very many places. If somebody ever watches this on a government computer in a CIA building, find a way to let me know.
I think it'd be funny.
In a manner that doesn't get suits sent to my door. Again,
please don't scare me.
At some point, suits, like, that'll just be a part of my life. But until then, no.
Please don't scare me, but make it funny somehow. Like, if you could target emergency alerts to people's phones, I think that'd be funny to receive one of those.
Anyway, the pitch these guys are trying to make are they have shown up here on this planet, have gotten nothing but wrong orders since they arrived. They've been bled dry with supplies mysteriously disappearing, as well as them being set up and ambushed by orcs, meaning the Inquisition was willing to feed intel to orcs and then help them destroy their entire leadership structure and then destroy every bit of gene seed they were ever able to recover.
You sound crazy.
You sound insane.
You sound crazy.
To everyone who's not a space marine.
Yeah.
Because they all go, hold on a moment.
What, are you suddenly corrupted by Tzeentch?
No, it's...
No, everybody else thinks that.
Everybody else is like, okay, buddy. And every space marine goes, they shouldn't do that to us.
Why did they do that to us?
Why did they do that to us?
What do you mean they did that
to us? And the Black Templar
is
really going like, he did that to our... Hold on him. Like, they were about to leave and chase Gaz. They pull the brakes. Just, whoa, what is going on? I need to hear more about this. You have 5 minutes. Catch me up.
No, to stop an entire, not full crusade, but like an entire like charge towards Gaz. That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It's a
He was
huge
getting
deal.
away with Armageddon there.
Yeah.
And so they hear them out, and what happens is Grimaldus orders pretty much everyone in the hive with a pulse to back them up. Under this, it's a solid theory being related to Dorn that if they can win at the gap, that's enough honor gained back that they should be good.
Yeah.
They should be good if they destroy all those machines. It's a big good day, right? And he offers this to the last remaining guy who's in command, a fellow named Ken, who takes it, obviously, because his previous plan was jump in front of a freight train. Like, his previous plan was, I will leap in front of a freight train, make note of what happens to my body afterwards. So
That's an awesome plan.
Compared to that,
It's not. Don't do that.
he takes that fairly quickly and scavenges everything to gear up. The only thing he does note is when the war boss shows up, it will be me who gets him, which pretty fair.
It's weakening him down so that the last hit can be done.
Yes,
They're minion farming him.
a little bit. Yeah, the last hitting him. And so they're going to take this gap or die trying. That's what matters, because there's no talking them out of this, because the Inquisition does their homework. They're related to Dorn. They're not going to leave. They will not leave until the job is done, even if it kills them trying. Which brings us to the second Mannheim Siege.
Mannheim Siege 2. Oh god, let's hope we can get it right this time.
Yep, the guardsmen do what the guard do best and just rush in and soften the beaches. Like, it's just... They run in first. The orcs are expecting them. It is less of an assault and more of a grueling war for inches on the battlefield. They're climbing over the bodies of guardsmen and the previously dead Astartes, and by the end of the fight, it's less... We're walking through a battlefield, and more we are wading through it. Yes. What remained from the Celestial Lion's first battle lays strewn across everywhere. Looted clean or just soiled, because orcs are terrible sometimes. And there are now...
Again, orcs are funny from a third-person perspective, but a first-person...
And then the big bad war boss shows his face. And keynote about this, he's not a joke. I think we often hear war boss, and it's like, oh, the 6-foot war boss was taken out by the 6'2" war boss, was taken out by the 6'3" war boss, and it goes on and on.
That doesn't take away from the fact that, listen, this guy's the most powerful for a reason.
He's very strong. He ate the previous guy in charge of the Celestial Lions.
That's different.
And he had a wound carved in him that was 3 meters long that didn't do a thing.
3 meters long?
Mm-hmm. And right now he's doing the same shtick, shrugging off gunfire and heading straight for Grimaldus.
Amazing.
Which brings up one of my favorite facts about Celestial, the Black Templar's armor. It has this effect of drawing commanders out to them.
Is this... Wait, is this an actual, like, in-canon thing?
Mm-hmm. I love the...
What?
I love the belief makes it happen, like rules that 40k goes by.
What?
Because for those of you that don't know, the first Black Templar, kind of an edgy fellow, bound his weapons to him via chains and would just kind of walk out onto the battlefield, heavy breathing, and point at the enemy commander. And then they would just 1v1, and he'd win every time. This guy was good at his job. He beat Khattarn on a one-on-one.
Which is impressive.
If you know what Khattarn is, it's very impressive.
He beat Khattarn in a one-fight?
And now, all the people who take after him, when in battle, their armor can occasionally do that, where a commander will see it and go,
I'm irritated by that glint
things,
on their armor.
Things will work out in a weird way that, like, oh, now we're 1v1ing, I guess. Okay, this is fine. You're just a space marine, and then they proceed to lose handily.
Is it like a passive perception mechanic?
I don't know.
Where they're rolling like invisible rolls in the background?
It kind of feels like it. All I know is Grimaldus is ready for it and revels in it.
I see.
But this is a rather large orc. There's a lot of them here. There's a lot of them that believe in him, and they watched him eat a chapter master.
That'd do it.
So this guy's overwhelming him, frankly, and pushing Grimaldus back until a Ken steps in to take the fight.
Which
Now,
was the plan.
key note, any Black Templar, if this had been anyone else, any Black Templar worth their salt would have said, very cool, I'm going to grab you by your shoulders. I'm going to move you over here. Please respect the one.
This is my fight.
This is quite literally my fight. Do not get involved. But this is his brother, kinda, who was absolutely destroyed. I'm talking properly, dictionary definition decimated by this thing. He needs this. This is all he has. He either does this or dies trying.
Yeah.
It's what Grimaldus would want if their positions were reversed. So he lets it happen, spectating, while they're constantly trading blows and ripping into each other. It said they look like two wounded animals just trying to effectively end each other.
Is that a cool description or a sad description? I'm having a hard time figuring that
I
out.
think that was the point. Writers are good at their whole writing thing.
Yeah.
This takes so long that the guardsmen are able to stop softening the beaches. Or I guess maybe it piles up so high that they're... I don't know. They managed to get to the generators and blow it up.
I mean, it's a guardsman.
Yeah.
Their whole deal is gumming up the tank treads. If they build a bridge to the generator over the bodies of their fellow man, it's a guardsman. That's what
And
they
I'll
do.
be honest, the orcs, seeing their war boss fighting, there's a good chance they just go, yeah, I wanna watch this.
We're watching this. This
Right.
is now a gladiatorial arena.
So the shield generator's knocked out and Space Marine landing time, baby. So the Black Templars start raining from the sky. It's raining men.
As
Honestly, hallelujah indeed. Because it's not looking good for a Ken.
Really?
He doesn't know it in that moment, but he's probably the last lion in fighting shape. And in the minute since we looked away to see that shield generator get destroyed, he lost his arm. It was juiced by a rather firm handshake.
I see. He got the squish treatment.
Yes. And he also lost a leg.
Also the squish treatment?
This was more of a trade to... I love this because it shows how strong this war boss is. He trades his leg to stuff a chainsaw down his throat, which does not detach his head.
So he's now running around guardian ape style with just a chainsaw on his neck.
Kind of, yeah. It's a worth it blow on almost everything else, but this is a rather large orc.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it takes Grimaldus, like, hopping on its shoulders and basically, like, using the chain to, like, pry open, while Ken takes a shot with a bolter to finally knock it loose.
I see.
Yes.
This is full guardian ape.
Yes, it is unironically one of my favorite fights.
Get ready for the second phase.
No, he doesn't have thank God he doesn't have a second phase. His first phase, he was ripping chunks off armor with each swing. Yes. And also this fight starts with an incredible quote from Ken.
What is that?
In whatever underworld your foul breed believes, you shall tell your pig-blooded ancestors you died to the blade of a Ken of Elysium.
God, there's a lot of venom to that one.
Lion of the Emperor.
That's a lot of venom to that one.
That's the opener.
That's a lot of venom.
That's the opener. Do you see why people love the Celestial Lions?
Yeah.
Dictionary decimated. 1 in 10 survives this. And they still have the chest to say...
To point at you and I'm saying, whatever god you believe in, you're going to be telling them stories from hell.
I love it. I'll be honest. I'm an Ultramarine fan. They're leaving.
They're not. They're leaving.
I'm out.
This is not the most efficient.
I'm out. There'll be a new chapter here in a week.
The book says that if we are outnumbered to this kind of scale, we should probably go back and get the other Ultramarines.
Yes, this is the reserve Ultramarines who are here.
And then there's the reserve Ultramarines, just in case the reserve Ultramarines aren't enough.
Exactly. But this is why I love Dorn's sons. They always get the job done. Now,
again,
90+% losses.
As we said, is it the most efficient way?
No. Having to loot and scavenge your own dead, being constantly raided by orcs, and losing your whole culture effectively.
That must be so moralizing.
Like, I'm talking thousands of years of knowledge per person gone.
That's basically a therapy session.
Yes.
It must be so good for the psyche.
These guys are the epitome of no deed goes unpunished. And yet they still manage to. And I love it.
I would say they still managed to go punished.
They won the day.
One of them won. Won.
I said fighting shape. The others, there's a couple that survived.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Right? And so while they did technically win, the message was still sent. This is what happens when you mess with the Inquisition.
Yeah, which
was
that.
the point.
Don't
it was terror with a purpose.
Yeah.
But at least the message has been sent.
And it was like their own personal hell too, because they're not going to run from that.
The Inquisition knows.
They know.
They have your birth certificate, dude. They know what's his genetic makeup. Dorn. Oh, this is gonna be easy.
Give him a wall to throw his head against.
Yeah, if it was an Ultramarine, just start hiding razor blades in books. You'll get him long enough.
Death by 1,000 finger cuts.
Yeah, death by 1,000 cuts. But now the Celestial
Death
Lions...
by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah, the Celestial Lions are in a much better place. Their bigger brothers are now there to help them. You know that one image of Kevin Hart holding on to that woman?
No.
Give me a moment. This is a very specific image. There it is.
I see. Yes, that image.
That is the Celestial Lions. That is the Black Templars. That is the Inquisition. This is where things are in the 41st millennium. Take notes. How did you not know about this image of Kevin Hart? It is...
No, I knew about this.
I
knew about this image of Kevin Hart. I knew about this image of Kevin Hart. It wasn't in my brain. It wasn't in my RAM.
Yeah, but yeah. So this is how things are after the second siege of the Mannheim Gap.
I see.
Do you also see why people love him?
Yeah.
Yep. After this battle, Aken is named Chapter Master, as well as the scant few warriors who survived. He's given a set of gold warplate from back in the Imperial Fist days.
That's
it is the original color.
That's a trait. That's a trait right there.
Yeah, but I told you the Black Templars are there for them now, which is, by the way, not something they give out willy-nilly. Like I said, they're zealots. They're very faithful. They're very big on relics. This is a huge thing.
The fact that they gave them that is huge.
There's a whole hall in their ship called the Hall of Memory. A big part of why Grimaldus is the hero of Hell's Reach is because a brawl broke out during Sunday service, and instead of excusing himself, he bellowed, "I've dug my grave in this place. I'll either triumph or die." That's a real quote from him.
That's an awesome quote from him.
I'm ready to die. I'm either going to win or I won't, but you won't. That's a promise.
My God.
After which, by the way, the whole church falls on him.
Does he survive this?
For lack of a better term, he doesn't just survive it. He thugs it out.
Oh.
Carrying out relics from the temple. I think one of them being holy water.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Impressive.
And a couple of banners, I think. But those are the lengths they'll go to.
Just to protect their relics.
And they give Aken a set of armor from back when Dad was running around.
Just give it out, yeah.
That shows how much respect he has for just how much he went through.
This is the Kevin Hart picture.
It is a Kevin Hart picture. And then on top of that, he's given a cloak that matches Helbrecht's sword brethren. He's another Black Templar. It's an episode all to itself. I can't... There's no way for me to describe why being given that cloak that matches something that is that close to Helbrecht matters without it just becoming a Black Templar episode. And they've already eaten a bit of this episode. What matters is while Grimaldus is a very big and important Black Templar, Helbrecht is the biggest and blackest Templar available. He answers to pretty much nobody.
There has to have been...
That is the best way I could have phrased that. You need a minute? I'm not wrong.
Oh, there has to have been a better way to phrase that.
Nope, I fully stand by. Lastly, he's also given the polished skull of the Orc war boss he managed to kill, and it's now chained to his hip.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
And an honor guard of Black Templar to take him home.
Oh, well,
And a couple of Black Templar medics to scavenge some of the goo from the battlefield.
It
because,
does.
man,
It does seem like the Inquisition has it out for them. They need that.
they need this.
They
help.
need
really
that.
do. Sadly, their war wasn't over because as the Lions were rebuilding, or trying to, sky cracked in half.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, and their homeworld, the one silver lining to the story, by the way, the fact that they have a homeworld that they can recruit from, is invaded by chaos. And they do not have the manpower to defend it.
God, knowing the Inquisition, they planned for that too.
They reach out to the Emperor's Spears, the other members of that boy band in Alara's Vale, to help them. Can we please just find refuge with you?
Yeah.
I can't defend my home, but can I could you help me out here?
Can I camp out on your floor for a couple weeks, please?
They're also related to the Ultramarines, and when you're evacuating a planet, you do want the logistics guys on this.
Yeah.
And so Ken goes to meet with them, and when he does, a hidden assassin decapitates him.
Really?
Deployed by the Inquisition.
Because of course.
Yep. And until the last Celestial Lion is dead, the Inquisition will never be done. This costs the Imperium a whole section of space.
And yet,
Because of the Inquisition's pettiness directly out of spite.
they just gave up a whole sector of space.
Do you see why I say the Imperium often survives in spite of itself?
Yeah.
It's not the suffering that keeps the machine going. It's often the suffering that makes the machine stall and die. It just keeps managing to turn.
Yeah.
You know? It's very much so like what is that thing? Oh, I've seen somebody make a really fun. Only Magic guys are gonna get this. So this one might. Somebody made a custom card called the Orphan Crushing Machine. It's a zero cost thing that just sits there crushing orphans, and there's no way you can get it off the battlefield. Who the hell built this thing? Why is it here? The Imperium feels like that sometimes. Just why is there a whole thing just doing that in the corner? And why can't we get rid of it?
Turn 1, I play Orphan Crushing Machine. Turn 2, I play another Orphan Crushing Machine.
Well, there's zero cost. You could play 10 of them.
Turn 3, I play yet another Orphan Crushing Machine.
Yeah.
Is your entire deck just Orphan Crushing Machines?
Does nothing.
I will not confirm nor deny these allegations.
The one thing I hate about this more than the stupidity and pettiness of it really is Ken's death bugs the hell out of me, if I'm going to be honest. I usually like Aaron Dembski Bowden's work, but this one, he's written some of my favorite books. This chafes the hell out of me.
That he's just kind of offed like that.
This chafes. It's a twist.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good twist. Chafes me.
Yeah.
Because you have a properly interesting character, like a real hero with a phenomenal aesthetic, wearing Dorn's original colors, the head of a war boss that killed most of his chapter on Armageddon, and he's been recognized as exceptional by the Black Templars and has a reason to go to war against the Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that could be done there.
Yeah.
And none of it is.
Yeah, because he's gone now.
Right?
Just off with his head.
And you could it's the kind of thing where a lot of people don't like Space Marine stories because we only ever get Ultramarine ones where they're just on top.
Yeah.
The Celestial Lions don't have that. They're objectively weak. Their job is beyond their means. And so there's just so many different ways you could create interesting stories around them because you now have a Space Marine chapter where they necessity is going to breed innovation out of them. Mm-hmm. They can't just, we're under attack. Send Marines at it. Mm-hmm. No, we have to think about it because there's 10 of us left.
Yeah.
There's not many of us remaining. And then you also have the potential of an actual proper test of Imperial authority because you don't question Space Marines. You don't question Inquisitors. Inquisitors sometimes like to walk like they can question Space Marines. Space Marines like to walk like they can question Inquisitors.
But
who really outranks who?
We don't know.
On paper, the Inquisition does, but in practice, this would have been the perfect chapter to test that.
But at the same time, it's just you can find a Space Marine chapter that is a perfect counter to the Inquisition. You can find an Inquisitor that is a perfect counter to the
Yeah.
whatever chapter
and
they're
with
dealing
Gilliman
with.
coming out and doing all this and wanting to change and rein in certain aspects, this would have been the perfect tool for him to go, well, they're not my kids, but Dorn was all right.
But this is so royally screwed that, whoa.
It's more like it. Dorn was all right, and somebody's going to rein the Inquisition in. Here you go.
I'd assume that's on his to-do list already, so he'd just need any excuse.
Yeah. And we're also entering this age in 40k of just like true, real misery, and more than usual.
Yeah.
The Imperium is ripped in half. There are coups happening left, right, and center. Some planets raw just got dunked into hell. Like, there's so much.
Everything about the Indomitus Crusade just seems like it's very...
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
It's an era in need of figureheads. Even Gillysuit says this himself.
Yeah.
He is the perfect one. Like, just based on his attire alone, he would have been a hell of a figurehead.
Yeah.
But nope, beheaded.
Nope, gone.
Yep. And it's not even the typical cool chapter master death of he died at the hands of Chaos's inexhaustible armies. Nope,
No, it's a random Calidus assassin came after him.
Yep.
What can you do?
Like, you have a very interesting story with Dante where you have this immortal, undying angel that wants nothing more than death. And you're playing with all these aesthetics that come with uniquely Blood Angel stuff, right? There is no way the talent in the Black Library couldn't figure out a compelling story from giving Sons of Dorn an insurmountable mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people related to Mr. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low. Like, he will just do it.
And then giving them the just climb that mountain.
Yeah.
You said ain't no mountain high enough.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
Go for it. Prove it. And it just, it really...
It's a bit of...
Really,
a bit
I
of a
would have
bug.
even been happy if they started doing the thing that we all know the Ultramarines have been doing, where it's like, we are not a legion, we are 1,000 different chapters who all work together all the time, and we're constantly texting, and there's a group chat. It's really fun. We golf on Saturdays, you know? Like, I would have been totally happy if, like, the Celestial Lions aren't standing on their own. Well, the Celestial Lions are a chapter all by themselves, but, like, they're always with the Black Templar.
Yeah, they're doing so much collaboration with Black Templars that
It's
it's
like,
what is it?
We haven't done a proper head count in a while. How many of you are in here, you know?
I mean, especially since the Black Templars are already, like, try me, count them yourself.
Yeah, but I can't complain too much because it's the grim darkness of the 41st millennium.
This is just kind of stuff that's going
I
to happen.
can't complain about it being grim and dark. It's in the name.
It's in the name.
I'm here for it. So most I can do is just let it chafe me. But I got to turn it over to you. What do you think of what the actual Celestial Lions are like?
It's kind of sad.
Right.
It's kind of really sad.
It's like a Lamenter's kind of a situation.
It is kind of a lament. It's like the Lamenters kind of combined with a Killdozer situation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, there's another story that could have worked.
Yeah.
And we'll never get it.
Yeah.
Unless, you know, the stories of his death have been greatly exaggerated.
Maybe
Ken's learned to play his own games after dealing with the Inquisition for
or maybe
so
a
long.
Ken
This
is
isn't
just
copium.
Maybe a Ken is a future on a head in a jar. That'd be funny.
I have to think if that's happened to a Space Marine before. I'm not sure.
Probably not. Probably not.
We'll find out.
Actually, no. 40k is wacky and weird. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe once.
It's not impossible.
It's not
But
impossible.
yeah, they're very good fun, but they fall into the Lamenter's streak of
Where it's like this is
losing
just so much loss.
Give them a win,
Yeah,
please.
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 I get it.
Redirect some of that blue mojo, you know?
Listen, this is like it's a good story twist to just he's gone.
It
But
is
at
a
the
good
same
twist.
time, at the same time, it's just like in the overarching like
Because when you're reading the book, it just happens.
it just happens out of nowhere.
Like, oh hey, Ken's dead.
Dead. Which is good because like that's it's very
the George R.R. Martin school of writing.
no, I was gonna say it's very real. Like you
And
never.
yeah, people just die.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, to take a word out of a very honorable man's book, you really never know what's going to come through that door.
Yeah.
I was being stupid. It's the opening to Pawn Stars.
Of course.
It's the opening to Pawn Stars recontextualized as like you don't know what's going to come tomorrow.
And with that, we've checked the last box, the end episode disappointment. As always, thank you.
End episode disappointment with disappointment.
I know. Thank you.
It's a disappointment Russian doll.
For tuning into this episode. We will see you next week for a episode on someone. Sound off in the comments for who will show up. And as always, thank you for being here.